The following public service program is brought to you by the Metropolitan Library System. And now, Read About It with your host, B.J. Williams.
We have a great show for you today, including a talk with Charlotte Foltz Jones about her book, Westward Ho! But first, Doug Benton, Elizabeth Kessler, and Linda Himes are going to tell you about a movie that you can check out from your library.
Hey everybody, I'm here with Linda Himes and Elizabeth Kessler again to talk about a movie. And this time I got to pick the movie, and the movie I chose was Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. This was the follow-up to Psycho. It took him about 3 years to make this. It's the third time he worked from a story by Daphne du Maurier. I like it. I think this movie is almost a perfect thriller because it builds slowly. In fact, it starts off like a romantic comedy. I mean, Hitchcock is taking some of the tropes from romantic comedy with the meet cute in the pet store and all that, and then slowly develops into a pretty creepy story, I think, in which the birds in Northern California all go a little nuts and start attacking people. We never find out really why. There's some lip service given to why. I think it's because of this, but we never really find out why. And at the end, we don't know if they've stopped. So what do you guys think of the movie?
Totally loved it. Still a classic all these years. It's not so much about the acting, as you said, about the tension that builds, the unknown, not knowing, the thriller, the suspense. That's what makes the movie. Yeah,
I don't think Hitchcock was ever really concerned about acting. Usually he could just turn it over to big names and not worry about it. But it was the little technical challenges that interested him. And a lot of that is in the special effects in this movie, which, yes, are 40 years old, but they were state of the art at the time. What do you think?
I liked it. I love this movie. It's creepy. It's part of an element, the birds, that you just don't know why. Like you said, you don't know why they're doing this, so you're trying to figure out, okay, how are they going to get out of this? What's going to happen next?
And you and I talked that when there's a large group of birds around, we always go back to this movie.
You're like, okay, what are those birds going to do?
Right. I mean, that happens with a lot of people. I think they see birds congregating and memories of this movie come up, which I think the movie's a lot like life in that, in a broader philosophical sense. Sometimes things happen to us and we just don't know why they're happening, and we keep saying, why me, which the characters of this film do, and the answer is, why not you? Here's a clip from the movie. The birds are attacking the downtown of this little town. We'll see what happens here.
Look at the gas. That man's lighting a cigar.
Hey, you! Don't drop that match! Look out! Get out of there!
Mr. Run!
Watch out!
Mr.
Look out! Look out! Watch out!
There we have the birds being dangerous when you don't even see the birds very much in that clip. Okay, the movie is Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds. Thank you, ladies. We'll see you again soon.
To celebrate Oklahoma's first 100 years as a state, the Metropolitan Library System has asked George Nye to share some fascinating stories about this great place and its people.
How would you like to be told you're the greatest athlete in the world? Well, those words were spoken by the King of Sweden at the 1912 Olympic Games in Stockholm, and the recipient of such glowing praise was Oklahoma's Jim Thorpe. Given the name Watohuk, or Bright Path, by his mother, Thorpe was born in the Sac and Fox Nation in 1888. At the Carlisle Indian School in Pennsylvania, Thorpe displayed remarkable athletic talent for his legendary coach, Pop Warner. And Thorpe could play any sport well, but he excelled at track and football. At the Olympics, Thorpe chose to compete in the grueling pentathlon and the decathlon. He did not disappoint. In battling hometown favorites and poor weather in Stockholm, this Oklahoman jumped, ran, and threw to world records in both events. He's the only athlete to win both combined events in Olympic history. James Francis Thorpe, Bright Path, would eventually become known as the athlete of the century, and many believe the greatest athlete ever in history. Thorpe received King Gustav's praise by displaying typical Oklahoma grace and humility when he turned to the king and simply said, "Thanks, King." And thank you, Jim Thorpe, world's greatest athlete from Oklahoma.
Well, Doug Benton and I are here, and that means it's time for us to talk about books.
I'm not going to talk. You talk.
Oh, okay. Well,
You talk first.
And I'm not sure you can talk about these books anyway.
Oh, okay.
Because they're all about crafty things, you know, using your hands to make stuff.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Uh-huh. The first one I want to mention is called 20-Minute Crafts Beading. It's by Catherine Stahl, and it's got a little symbol up in the corner that says Hands-On Crafts for Kids.
Oh.
Now, these are not crafts that you want your kids to do unsupervised, at least if they're very young. But
Does it have scissors in it?
I'm afraid it's got scissors and safety pins.
That you don't want to.
And yeah. You want some supervision. But I noticed that a lot of the things they have in here, bracelets, how to make earrings, how to do braiding and that sort of thing, would probably appeal, I think, to middle school and even some high school students, especially if they have never done any of these things before. They might be very interested in making a few things that would perhaps coordinate with some of their outfits. So it's very good instructions. It's step by step. It's for people who've never done any beading. I mean, I could follow along and understand what you were supposed to do.
So if even you could follow along.
Right.
Yeah.
But I found it quite interesting, and it looked like a fun sort of thing that kids might like to do. You know, summer vacation is coming up. If you want something for them to keep occupied with, this would be a good idea. This next one is What's Cool? Customizing Cool Clothes, and it's by Kate Haxel. And it's not a sewing thing, although a little bit of sewing is involved, but it's how to take store-bought clothes and fancy them up.
Oh, okay.
So you can take, what's on the cover is a t-shirt that has ruffle and beading on it. And it was bought without the ruffle and the beading. That was added on. Very good, clear photographs of instruction on how to do it, how to decide how much material you need, and then how to actually apply all of these things. There are some really cute ideas in here. Most of them, I think, appeal more to young people than to slightly more mature folk. Again, it is all for girls, but it's how to fix up a sweater, or how to turn your jeans into capri pants, or put buttons all over a sports coat. So again, lots of crafty stuff that I think kids would enjoy. And we actually have quite a few books on that subject. So, you know, if you're interested and don't want to jump in and spend a lot of money at the bookstore, come down to the library.
Sure, check that stuff out.
Yeah. So, and coming up next, we have Kids Corner. Heidi Johnson will be talking with Kelly Rhea about some books for our very youngest readers.
Hi, Heidi Johnson is here. She's from Pet Processing, and she loves kids' books, as do I. She's brought a book, and we're going to start at the beginning. But the first book is called The End.
I thought it was very cleverly done, starting the book with the ending and working the story backwards. It starts with, and they lived happily ever after. Oh. And why did they live happily ever after? Because, and then the story takes off, and it takes you to the beginning of the story, whereas, well, there are giants involved, and there are princesses and princes.
And dragons and a cook and a fairy.
This wonderful dragon who is an artist at heart, and he they show him in his cave, and he's painting a self-portrait, and he's a very artistic type, and he gets the scare of his life because there's 100 bunny rabbits that come into his cave and scare him.
So like the elephant and the mouse.
Exactly. It's a beautiful story, and you can actually read it from the front to the back and from the back to the front.
Oh, that's fun. It's called The End. It's by David La Rochelle, and When Pigs Fly, You'll Love It. Oh, look, there's a flying pig now.
Yes, there is.
Now, the second book you brought is called The Gum Chewing Rattler. How odd.
That story just cracked me up because I had never read anything like it before. The author is actually a storyteller, and he appears in the book telling the story of when he was a little boy, and he would love to chew this pink bubble gum. His mom hated it because he sometimes would forget it in his clothes and it would make a mess. But one day, it saved his life. And his mom never would get on to him for chewing pink bubble gum again. Apparently he was out in the desert and not paying attention where he was going, stepped on a rattlesnake who reared up to bite him, got hold of his bubble gum instead. And it is a hilarious story what happens to the rattler and to the storyteller at that time. And then at the very ending, there's a little surprise twist.
Oh, how wonderful. Well, this book is called The Gum Chewing Rattler. It's a little twist off the normal kind of story. It's by Joe Hayes. We know that you'll love both of these books. You can find them at your favorite bookstore or at your local library.
Doug and I are back, and this time Doug has got some books clutched in his hands.
Yeah, you and I talk every once in a while, just off camera, about new paperback books coming out, especially by Western writers. And, you know, these guys have been dead for a long time, and we kind of wondered what's going on here. And I imagine a lot of our viewers do that too, because there are some writers whose names are being carried on by other writers today. But that's not the case with these fellas. I'm talking mainly about Louis L'Amour, Max Brand, and Zane Grey today. Right. There are frequently new books coming out, and it'll say first time in paperback or something on there. And you wonder, where is this coming from? What is this stuff? Well, it is new material to paperback. It's not necessarily new, but it might be. It might be the first time some of these things have ever been published. And it's not that they're bad stories that nobody would buy. Frequently what would happen was these fellas would write stories for the old pulp magazines in the 20s, 30s, 40s, even before that in the case of Zane Grey. And the editors would look over the material and say, yes, I want to buy this, but I don't like this, I'm taking it out. I don't like this chapter, I'm taking it out. I don't like this incident, I'm taking it out. And so the story would appear in the magazine as by, say, Zane Grey, but it wasn't exactly what Zane Grey wrote. Then the magazine would take it to a book publisher, and the book publisher would buy it and look at it and say, you know, I don't like this part, and take it out, or they'd have somebody rewrite this part over here. So by the time it came out in book form, it was even farther removed from what the original writer wrote. Well, what these books are doing now, these are mostly coming from a paperback house called Leisure Books, and the books are being brokered by the Golden West Literary Agency, which handles the estates of deceased Western writers. So what these books are the original versions as written by the author. So they are new in some sense. So one of these that I brought today is called Cabin Gulch, a novel by Zane Grey. And our longtime Zane Grey fans will look at that and go, Zane Grey never wrote a book called Cabin Gulch.
That's true.
What are you talking about? Well, he did, and this is the book that he wrote. It came out as a serial in 1915 in a magazine, and it went to book form. And by the time it came out in book form, it had been retitled The Border Legion, which is one of his more popular books. But that's not what Grey wrote. This is, and it's much rougher in content when it deals with the people in the mining camps and the types of characters there. A lot of the editors originally thought that was too indelicate, and we couldn't put that in there. The Louis L'Amour volume, the new one, is called Showdown Trail. There are 2 short novels in here. that Lamore later went back and rewrote and published as full-length books. There's one in here that became Son of a Wanted Man, for instance, 35 years after the original novel that was written. Anyway, that's why we have new books coming out by guys who have been dead, in Max Brand's case, for over 50 years.
Good heavens. Well, I'm glad to know I wouldn't be completely wasting my time.
No, not at all.
Okay, thanks, Doug. Coming up next, we have MJ Vandervenner from the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum. She'll be talking with Joyce Reed Belt about a book that Belt has just read.
Hi, Joy. Welcome.
Hi.
You're going to talk about your friend and mine, N. Scott Momaday. I had the honor of interviewing him at his home in Santa Fe a couple of years ago, and he has wonderful books out, Housemaid of Dawn, which won the Pulitzer Prize, and The Ancient Child, The Man Made of Words, The Way to Rainy Mountain, and In the Bear's House. And you're having a show for Scott Momaday.
Well, I am. The gallery JRB Art at the Elms opens a show for him on September the 1st. Not many people know that in addition to being a world-class author, he has also painted for 30 years.
And mostly he paints bears, doesn't he?
No, no.
He's not single-minded.
He paints animals and people primarily, not landscapes, but animals and people. And I recently went to his ancestral home in
Mexico,
and picked out the work for this show. And even before I went, and in doing that, I thought, well, a good thing for me to do would be to reread all of his novels. And so I started with The Housemaid of Dawn, which he won the Pulitzer Prize for when he was 32 years old. And it is so remarkable, as are his other books. I mean, the way he uses the language. And, you know, he was the first Native American author to ever get the Pulitzer Prize. And he continues to be the greatest, probably, Native American author in the world. And it's his ability, I think, to use his heritage, he's Kiowa, and that strong storytelling heritage, and then infuse that with what's happening in the world today, and the kind of psychological and cultural things that people that are bridging both worlds have to deal with. But they're just really, really remarkable.
Well, he is a wonderful writer.
And he is, and he's Oklahoman. I mean, he's ours. And in fact,
he's kept his ties.
He's kept his ties very much to Oklahoma. He comes back. In fact, he's living here now for about 6 months.
At the
Montgomery, downtown. And so he always has kept his ties, and you know, he was born in Oklahoma, and his parents were here, and lived here for a while before they moved to New Mexico. But he feels like he's an Oklahoman.
Well, he is a great asset to
yes,
be living
he is.
here
He's
right
one of
now.
our living treasures. I think that
he really
yes,
is.
he is.
Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
Every year I get to go to the Western Heritage Awards at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum. That's when they give out Wranglers for people who have written about the West or done movies about the West or whatever. I usually talk with those who are involved in the print part of that, and Charlotte Foltz Jones wrote a book, Westward Ho, which won the Wrangler last year, and I think you'll enjoy what she had to say about it. What decided you to write about the westward exploration in this country?
It's a subject that I probably would never have done on my own. My publisher actually had the idea, and my editor believed in me enough to offer the book to me, and it was actually the publisher's idea. I don't know that I would have had the courage to take such a grand scope and to do so many explorers. I probably, if it were my idea, I probably would have just said, would be lucky to find, do one man. But they wanted to do a group of Western explorers, so it really was the publisher's idea, and I felt very flattered and lucky that my editor believed in me enough to ask me to do it.
Mm-hmm. Well, obviously your editor was right. I mean,
well, I hope so.
It's a wonderful book. And also Western Heritage winner.
So exactly, yeah.
So did you know much about the Westward movement, or was this all new research?
It was mostly new research. Yeah, I did grow up on the man in there, one of the men, John Coulter, who was part of the Lewis and Clark expedition. And as a little girl, my parents and I camped every summer up in Yellowstone National Park and Grand Teton National Park. And of course, that's the area where John Coulter went through on his solo trek. He was by himself when he did his exploration. And we, as a little girl, we went to all the campfire talks, the ranger talks every night, and so every week they did at least one talk on John Coulter. So whether we were at Coulter Bay in Grand Teton or at Yellowstone National Park, we would hear about John Coulter and the importance of him going through the area and taking back information for the maps that they were starting to make back east. Yeah. He had been part of the Lewis and Clark expedition, and then he broke off at the Mandan villages and went back into the wilderness.
Now, when I was looking through this list, and there are 11 people mentioned here, a few of them I knew a little bit about. One of them actually was a childhood hero, which was James Bridger, the mountain man.
Good. Yes.
A lot of these people I'd never heard of.
I hate to tell you, but I hadn't either. I had never heard of Robert Gray. I'm born and raised in Boulder, Colorado, and I didn't know who Robert Gray was, but my husband did, because my husband had lived in Oregon, and Robert Gray was the first man to take, he took his ship, which the ship's name was the Columbia, and he actually went over the sandbar, and then he traveled up what is today's Columbia River, and did a little bit of mapping, and then went back and told the Spanish authorities who were on Nootka Island that he had actually got over that sandbar, because there had been a lot of discussion for years about whether or not this was just river water or whether it was a major river. Nobody really knew for sure. But once he took his ship up there, that claimed that river then for the United States, because he was an American. He was out of Boston, and if he had not been the one to breach that sandbar and go up there, this Oregon and Washington could, maybe not, but it could conceivably be part of Canada today instead of part of the United States. So, I mean, of course, that's just speculation, but because he went up there, yeah, Robert Gray was one I didn't know. I also didn't know who Jedediah Smith was. I hate to admit that, but I learned quickly, and he was one of the greatest explorers and one of the greatest mountain men. A very religious man, very not typical mountain man.
I'm afraid most mountain men didn't really have much time for religion. They were too busy either trapping or getting drunk.
Yes, yeah, and finding Indian lady friends and Jedediah Smith didn't. Jedediah Smith had no alcohol, no tobacco. He did not have anything to do with the Indian women. He was just a very, very devout Methodist young man, and yet one of the greatest explorers of the West. Yeah.
Now, one of the last people you mentioned is John Wesley Powell, who has a lot to do with where we are here today.
Mm-hmm. That's right. John Wesley Powell was just an incredible man. I don't know how many people realize that he had an arm blown off during the Civil War. He had what do they call them? Mini ball. Okay, that's it. And it had, they had to amputate his arm after it hit his arm. And he didn't even let that slow him down. He just kept right on. He went down it's the Green River, and then it becomes the Colorado River once the Grand joins it. And he wasn't just in the boats. I mean, this man was a geologist, so he was climbing up the sides of the mountains. He wasn't just sitting down there looking at the sights. He was actively exploring as they went down the rivers. So
now, this is a book written for young people.
It is.
And I'm very impressed with anybody who can write for young people.
I'm thrilled to be able to write for young people, for children. This this is not to put anybody down, but it's very difficult to influence adults. You know, they might read your book and, oh, that's interesting, but very few adults, their lives are usually on course. Even if they're a mess, they're still on course, and they're not really going to change. They've really found the way that works for them. But children, you can open a whole new world for children. You know, a child can open up your book and be wowed and make a decision that might influence their lives. And sure, most of the children that read my book, that might not happen. But if it happens with one child, I mean, it's been well worth the time and energy it took to write. I love to write for kids. I go in school classrooms, and I feel it's a huge responsibility to go in classrooms and talk to children, and because you know, you can influence them, and you can, if you say the right thing, you can maybe change a life or influence them. Yeah.
Well, I can remember I encountered Jim Bridger when I was fairly young. Somebody had written a biography of him that I just came across, so I can remember that. Wow, I didn't know that, and obviously it has influenced a lot of how I view this country.
That's right.
Ever since. So.
Yeah, yeah. So that I feel it's important to write for children. And that's not to say I'll never write for adults, but at this point I'm still enjoying writing for children, and that's what I do, and I think it's what I do best. I sort of fell into it, not really on purpose. I was writing, when I first started writing really professionally and for publication, I was writing for magazines, and a lot of the magazine articles that I was writing, they weren't selling. And then I thought, well, maybe I'll try a children's magazine. First time out it sold, and I realized maybe I'm writing for children and just didn't realize it, and that's sort of what got me into writing more for children. Then I went into writing books.
Well, I want to thank you very much for sharing all of that about Westward Ho.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure to meet you.
Hi, I'm Donna Morris, Executive Director of the Metropolitan Library System. 2007 will mark Oklahoma's centennial year. 100 years is a long time, but public libraries have been part of this community since the very beginning. And we're still exactly the same as we've been all along, your primary source for information and entertainment. The delivery methods are different now than in the early days. Today we provide free wireless access, free internet access, DVDs, CDs, free programming for people of all ages, along with the traditional books, magazines, and newspapers. But what hasn't changed is our dedication to helping you find exactly what you need. Librarians continue to be the guides to the up-to-date world of information, and our librarians at MLS are the best in the business. So visit your neighborhood MLS library soon, and as they say in the world of libraries, come check us out.
Thanks for being with us. We'll see you next time.